everybody, and welcome back to Soccerwise. David Gotts and Tommy Scoops with you, coming off a screaming match off air that we are now going to continue on air. I've got the Knicks hat on. You've got the Soccerwise hat on. I am hidden away in a bunker deep in the mountains of Colorado, hiding from every flu and sickness and cold I possibly can. And Tom, it's our last quote-unquote live show of the year.
Yeah, it is. And then you say screaming match. That's just how we normally talk. So I didn't see any difference in the volume.
Yeah. This one was upsetting to me because Weeby caused it. So now we're yelling about Weeby without him in the room. We might have to have Weeby on, maybe with a panel of FC Cincinnati fans, to start the year, do a full Jerry Springer show where we're like, next to come out, it turns out the paternity test is Andrew Weeby. And then we have him come out of the back room. We're working on setting up the stage for that one for the new year. We've got a lot of cool stuff planned for the new year.
Do it at Legends.
The MLS Media Marketing Tour is going to be down in South Florida, so I will be there for some cool coverage. We're going to have some really cool stuff coming out of that. We are working on our preseason plan, so if you've got some ideas of the way you want us to go about that, let us know. Tom's working on some stuff on his own personal side, aka having a human being, which is something we're very excited about as well. And of course, the World Cup around the corner. We're going to continue to cover MLS and NWSL deep in the weeds as we always do. But we've got a lot of World Cup content that we're doing that we're pretty excited about, just because, I don't know, for me, I owned multiple books about the World Cup. The best gift I ever got, someone asked me this 2 weeks ago and I forgot. For Hanukkah one year, I got a poster, which was like this drawing of every World Cup each year in order. And then it was like, who won the Golden Boot, a couple facts about it, like in this painting. My mom got it for me, and I can recite for you in order the host, the winner, and the year of every World Cup all the way from 1930. That was one of the best gifts I ever got. I love the World Cup. So I'm really excited to be able to do some of that coverage. And we've got some great stuff for you over what is now considered a little bit of a break for a week and a half. We've got a Greg Berhalter interview that I think you'll all find fascinating. There is a point in it which I brought the national team up because he was talking about, fight and what they built. And I said to him sort of like, you kind of stopped talking about tactics. Was that an acknowledgement of shifting? And he goes, I realized no one gives a crap about tactics, so I stopped talking about it. And it was such a good line. We didn't talk national team long because there was some fascinating stuff about Chicago Fire and MLS big picture that I wanted to talk about him with. Of course. So that's going to come out. And then Andre Zanotto, we chatted with, who he put his money where his mouth is. We talked Superdraft right before. He went and traded up for the second and third pick because of how much he values it, looking for the next Logan Farrington. So we chatted with him as well. Big picture MLS, especially from his point of view, coming from Brazil, doing a lot of business with Mexico, Argentina, and all of that with the new transfer, with what we think the new transfer window is coming up. So we're going to put those out there in our special with Bobby and Doyle. Well, we got some topics to hit today, Tom, because you are still working, and we got a lot to get people primed for, to watch for, and then we'll break down some news that's been coming out.
Exactly. It's nonstop. You joked about maybe some time off. Not really. We're firmly
just means you get to wear your slippers while you text.
It is very fun.
Agents from South Korea about future players.
Yeah, so a lot of working from home, which is great. I'll be on morning footy December 23rd, depending on when you listen to this. So that'll be fun, and then hopefully just home for the holidays for that. But yes, you're right. It's a very busy time. Go on The Athletic. I did just write all needs for all 30 teams. Yeah, that took a while, and those are difficult to write because you start, and I try to not just do it in order because then. I just try to go randomly. It makes me feel better about how it's getting done. And you write, so let's say the first 3 teams you write, and then 48 hours later, what you just wrote, while you're still trying to finish it, it's already stale or already I need to make an addendum to it. So that came out, and it's finally up. So
this is the thing where when the schedule change happens, if the schedule change happens, I will appreciate that. Well, actually, it won't be true. But what I was going to say is, one of the hardest parts about trying to plan season preview is I'm like, all right, cool. Let me get a schedule down. Let's talk to Seattle January 8th. Let's talk to San Jose January 9th. Let's do things in advance. And then you're like, we're going to get there, and it's going to be DP signed on March 1st for a season that kicks off on February 25th.
Guys, this is what we did last year when we were doing our team-by-team previews. We're
trying to push.
As we're planning it, it was like, okay, who do you think is mostly done with their transfer window right now? Who has the least to do so that this will live on / it won't become old news in 3 days because they just made like a team changing or like style changing signing. So yeah, that's always
it is always the delicate dance. Classic Major League Soccer. It is so much fun to be around and be a part of. So I think what we're going to start with here is you giving a primer of the biggest storylines you're watching for, so people can keep an eye out, as well as people can sort of know, oh, when this hits, this is one of the big ones. And then we'll go into the things that have already happened over the last few days, because as you mentioned on the last show, the signing date for free agents to get the extended money from their own team was right after our show finished, which then we saw all of these re-signed, not resigned, re-signed come in over and over and over again over the last few days. And then we'll hit a little super draft on the back end of it. So why don't you get us started sort of with those big stories?
Yeah, so we won't be recording a live show over the next, 10 or so days, whatever it ends up being. This is what you need to watch for over the next, 10 to 14 days. These are the 10, I think, most important big offseason things that I'm expecting to have happen. And let's start with the first one, Sporting Kansas City's head coaching search. They are at the final stages. I know we've talked about it on the show that they have been with three finalists as of a few weeks ago. They have to be at the finish line here. From what I've heard, I believe that they are very, very close. So that's something to watch because they haven't made a ton of signings, and they have, at last count, I think it's 16, maybe 17 players under contract, and that's because they signed a couple homegrowns to boost that number up. Looking at their roster on the depth charts that have been updated and will continue to be updated, and you get access by
shout out to John and Hootski,
our Patreon,
legends.
Gets you the Discord, gets you the depth charts. They need, as I was writing it, and maybe this isn't going to be 100% certain, I think that they need new starters at all four defensive spots and defensive mid. And they signed Stephen Cleveland, so there's a goalie competition. If they wanted to sign another goalie to be a starter, I wouldn't push back against it. Like, they need 5 new defensive starters out of the 6 spots. And maybe if Stephen Cleveland wins that job, that's 6 out of 6 spots. So that
you
will
could convince me Jansen Miller's a starter after last year. But you could only do that if you have an upgrade at his partner and at one of the center mids in front of him. And if he is a staple, you're in trouble. If he's the other guy, then it all looks pretty fine. So, yeah, I fully agree with you.
Exactly.
Also, this has been the conversation around SKC since 2016?
They have been trying to replace Ike Opara and Ilie Sanchez since the moment those two players have left. So Kansas City, that one, because I think that's probably closer than some of the other things that I'm going to talk about on this list. And that's going to help set up what comes next for them. It mirrors, in one way, it mirrors what we've talked about with St. Louis, that they weren't going to make key signings before finishing their head coaching search. Now, Yohan DeMazen, I'm expecting them to do more, but they have significantly less flexibility on the roster than Kansas City does, because David Lee, after he took over, was able to decline literally every option essentially in front of him, more or less. And after their roster update, I think that they had 13 players under contract, something like that. St. Louis is different. They have more players under contract. They will still make moves, but Kansas City is the one where they don't need departures to fuel additions, because the roster had so many natural outs with contracts expiring and options up.
This is just a complete sidebar, but I think people who watch this show will enjoy it or listen. So my internet was taking a hit, and I couldn't figure out why. And I realized that I had forgotten that I'd been streaming AFCON on Fubo in the background before we got on, and that the stream had still been running after I muted it once we started talking. So I apologize, but the Mali-Zambia game was really inflicting on our recording quality, and now I'm back.
That makes me happy. I'm glad that we figured that out. We're as we're recording, 79th minute of that game. Guys, if you need to go.
I mean, big win for Mali. Obviously, we're looking to the Bafana later, who are playing against Angola. Shout out to Keon.
That'll be a good game. Shout out to Keon. Number 2, for me, another head coaching search. Just do that early as well. The Columbus Crew. It is going to be... The Columbus Crew have 2 things that they need to, air quote, replace that is simply impossible to replace. It is not fair to whoever comes in as the head coach to say you are the Wilfred Nancy replacement. That is not fair. whoever comes in central midfield as the Darlington Nagbe replacement is extremely unfair. He is one of the best winners in MLS history. Somebody, like, when Nancy was struggling at Celtic, somebody made a tongue-in-cheek joke of, like, maybe the best manager in MLS is just whoever happens to have Darlington Nagbe at any given time.
Which is funny because the one European team he almost signed with was Celtic 10 years ago.
Yeah, right. So those two things, again, I always want to be careful in framing and talking about it, that you can't expect a like-for-like replacement on either of those guys. The first one is the head coaching search. I believe that they are getting closer and closer. The little bits of info I've heard, they are progressing, and I'm excited and curious to see where they end up going with this head coaching search. I'm assuming, Goss, by the way, that they'll play. Again, there is no, say we talked about Yohan DeMay. I'm sure he'll play more like Nancy than Bradley Carnell, but there is no Nancy. But whoever the next coach is, even if that they're taking general pillars of like possession-based high energy, it's not going to be the same thing. Will they play out of the three at the back? That is a huge question. I don't know, depending on who the next head coach is and what they see in the team and how they want to play. That's going to inform a whole lot of decisions that they need to make within the roster. So this is the Columbus Crew, same thing in terms of the players coming in. We'll know a lot more after they hire a head coach, which, again,
not to split hairs here, but do you have SKC higher because you think it's closer and more likely to happen while we're off? Okay.
Yeah. And take the rankings of 1 to 10 here.
Listen, dude, I just want to know how I'm going to win.
I just think that generally,
I got to know the rules.
And so yeah, the Crew is something, but from what I've heard, they are progressing, and that's
and as you mentioned, it feels like SKC's coach will have more impact on the roster because there's more work to do. Where for the Crew, it's going to be more about using what's there. I still just think.
Yeah.
As much as they've lost, I think Wessam Abu Ali with Diego Rossi healthy for a full year, I think they're going to combine for what? 35, 40 goals, like across all comps. Like, I think those guys are going to pour it in. If you can have some stability behind them up the spine, it's still a top 5 contending East team, even with a new coach. That's just like shooting from the hip, not knowing anything. It just feels like there's too much. Max Arvston, Moreira, Farsi's been replaced along that right side, but that's out of quality, like with Herrera. Like, the weakness at center back and the reality of the way all these guys' skill sets are sort of leaned into what Nancy did, that's the one big fear, which is if you have a coach who can't really replicate that, do all these superpowers fall away, and now you're seeing the deficiencies of these players of why Rudy Camacho didn't get offers from other places, why Odmanson got traded here, why Max Arvston was converted into a wingback. So that's my one fear, but it just feels like this is a team that's going to be one of the top 5 goal scoring teams in MLS, and if they can get like the rest of it at a decent level, competitive level, they will still be a top of the East contender in the regular season.
And that was a good point, too, on Abu Ali and Rossi in particular. I don't really care exactly what formation they play. I don't totally care exactly what the game model is. Like, those are 2 really good players. I know Abu Ali, it's a much smaller sample size, but I think we both feel very confident that was a very good signing. And, hey, maybe Goss Theorem is Daniel Gazdag season 2.
That might be stretching our abilities on that.
What if the new coach comes in and says, I want to play some variation of like a lopsided 4-2-3-1 in the same way that Orlando tweaked their game model to just let Alex Freeman be a wingback without there being a wingback on the other side? So, like, what if you play a 4-2-3-1? Arson gets to play like a wingback. Right. Steven Moreira plays that like right back, but like as the right-sided center back. And then it's Abu Ali, Diego Rossi pinching in, Daniel Gazdag as a 10, and then a new winger like Hugo Picar or somebody else. Yeah.
Well,
I'm trying here.
The other thing if you're going to say like some of Gazdag is can you make the game a bit more frenetic? Like instead of suffocating teams with possession, which I wouldn't say is what Nancy wants to do. It's a reality of how people play a Nancy team. And then you get into a set game state where you're breaking teams down, set block. If it changes and the game becomes a bit more frenetic, then maybe Gazdag starts to find the openings he's most comfortable in. The question there is, do you lose the skill set of other guys in those moments? So it'll be fascinating to see. I think both of these are ones where it's a huge moment for these clubs. I mean, SKC, we're talking about the first permanent coach after Peter Vermees in 20 freaking years. Like, yeah.
Literally
so like
2 decades, yeah. Every decision made at that club.
Right. So
was through
everything
Peter
happening for SKC is the first time in the modern era. It's the first time since the fucking Wizards. Like, this is crazy. And I feel like we've been so numb to them because they've just been who they are over the last few years that I'm excited to sort of have them pop again. I love Kansas City. I love the SKC fan base. So I'm excited to have that back in. And then for Columbus, we're talking about the day after tomorrow with Wilfred Nance and like what they look like. So these are huge moments for these 2 clubs. Let's go into your next few.
My one quick sidebar is, if Jason Russell Rowe was allowed a special exception to just go with Wilfred Nance to Celtic, would he have 8 goals in those 5 games? Because apparently no other player on that team knows how to finish.
Won.
But dude, but they were up a man. They got 5 XG in that game against Lutz Pfannenstiel's Aberdeen, and Aberdeen still equalized down a like. That game shouldn't have been anywhere near. Jason Russell Rowe would have had 4 goals in that game.
The example of Wilfred Nance being a saint on earth is his phrase after the game wasn't, these guys are trash and we should be on a 5-game winning streak. His quote was, they deserve to win the other games, and I'm glad they finally got the result. A saint of a human being. And when he's good, I am going to re-bring up everything the Celtic fans has said about how he's a shit coach and be like, sorry, is he good now? I don't understand. I'm confused. So they play Rangers on January 3rd. Yeah, that's huge. Also, it's like classic that he comes from these 5 games that are like a cup final, Roma, and then he has 1, 2, 3 games in like a 7-day span to follow that up with ends with Rangers. Also, I'm in Colorado, so I forgot. So it's a 5:30 a.m. kickoff labeled for the Rangers game because they have to be at noon so that people can't be so drunk that they'll kill each other. Which is probably ineffective gameplay. Okay, let's get into some signings here. I was shocked that this one.
Sorry.
I know you're not doing standings that way. I was actually surprised this one was even on. I just haven't thought about this.
Do you know? Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about it. So Toronto FC's DP number 9 search. The club are cycling through targets. There was a rumor out there of Ben Brereton Diaz, just not true. So be careful on who's linked with Toronto, because people know that they have money.
That's the British Chilean
that
dude,
they're looking
right?
for a center forward.
That guy's hilarious.
Yeah. I think he has like the longest losing streak in Premier League history, like for an individual.
He got relegated and then sold.
It's unfortunate. Correlation versus causation. He's been on 2 of the very worst like Premier League teams in like the last couple years. Anyway, I want to be clear too.
Yeah,
like,
TFC by law.
I thought a good signing when the links was, but it wasn't real. It was not real. So Toronto FC, that made me take a few calls and figure some stuff out. I was not sure if ownership was going to be like, I know that to the current front office and to the current coaching staff, I know it wasn't you that mismanaged our funds, but you're going to still pay for the sins of Bill Manning, and we are not giving you money, or we're giving you the bare minimum money. I didn't know what the funds were going to look like after they've been burned so bad. And by the way, still paying Insigne and Bernadeschi. There's not a bottomless pit of money. I wouldn't blame them, even if I don't think that would be necessarily fair to the front office and coaching staff. But after all of the money that they've spent and the returns that they've gotten on it, I wouldn't have blamed them for going a little bit shoestring. Well, in the summer, they bring in Georgi Mihailovic, $8 million fee, and a big new contract. I'm expecting this DP spot to be significant. I don't have a ballpark for exactly how significant, but it won't be Bryn Hildenson is what I want to frame it here. That this is not going to be a loan with a purchase option for somebody looking for a fresh start somewhere else. Like, the players that I've heard of are serious center forwards and serious potential signings. So I think that's a really good news, really big boost for Toronto fans. It has been a train wreck over the last few years. Every time that you thought that there might be light at the end of the tunnel, it was another train coming to run you over. They had to sit through, like even John Herdman, they started off well, and then that ended in a disaster. Bernadeschi, it's like, hey, maybe he's salvageable. Nope, no, he's not. And they had to sit through some bad years. And if they tried to take shortcuts, they wouldn't be in this spot. you are finally at the end of the tunnel. It is not just light at the end of the tunnel. You are out of the tunnel, readjusting to what sunlight and happiness might feel like. That's not a guarantee that they're going to be great, but for literally the first time in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, they actually have the chance to be good, and I expect them to be good. They have some signings to make. It's not just the DP9. They needed to redo the defense. They brought in Walker Zimmerman. I would like to see another center back signing. Whether hopefully Sean Johnson comes back, but if not, maybe either Luka Gavron or another goalkeeper. Get the DP9 right, and you go from a new DP9, Georgie as the 10 or the left wing, depending, Jose Cifuentes with John and Osorio in the midfield, and then Zimmerman and maybe a new center back, and either Johnson or maybe a new goalkeeper. For that to be the new spine from what this team has had over the last 5 years.
This team is wild, dude. When you look at the roster, they have like no one on the roster on the main spots because they have 5,000 off-roster players. Like, credit to them on the one side. They've got 8 homegrowns across this team. But then they've got Nico Gomes and Cassius Malula and like all these dudes.
I'm not convinced Cassius Malula.
I think he might be. I think he might be good.
I'm not entirely convinced.
I think he's going to be a dude who comes back to MLS when they finally sell him in like 8 years as just like a solid starter. He started a Club World Cup for Wydad Casablanca. Bro's playing in Belgium right now, and he's legitimately playing. Like, he might be good, and everyone's just like, we cannot do this. But like Zayn Malousis, when they had this kick, we're just going to sign British players. Here's the
U23
deficiency in the market is English players coming over. They just have some bizarre players on this team, and yet there's space on the main roster for them to spend a little bit of money and bring some guys in like you talked about. In my estimation, I would say Luka Gavron's good enough that I just wouldn't spend the money at the position. Like if Sean Johnson's like, I like living in Toronto, I want to be here. Yeah, 100%. Outside of that, I wouldn't go out and spend money here, and I would spend on the positions you talked about. And it's fascinating to think what this team could be with a legitimate number 9 who's like a star player to lead them from the front. Obviously, Josie Altidore is the model with all of that. Sebastian Javinko, like 2 guys you could play through and dominate the game. They're going to make Georgi Mihailovic better. They're going to make Corbinu better. They're going to make all these guys look better. They still have Richie Larea on the books. Like, if you get a guy who you can feed into, you've got a ton of creativity around him to be able to set that player up. And if it's a player you can play off of, now Georgie's scoring goals, and you can start to put that on the books as well. So, yeah, I didn't think that they would spend. I kind of thought they were waiting another year, and you putting this down there's like, oh, I could get excited about Toronto pretty quickly if they get this right.
I agree, and hopefully we'll get better health for Richie Larea because he's a difference maker in this league. I don't know if he has to be a DP or not, or even if he doesn't have to be. It was like Osorio was the 3rd DP behind the Italians because it just made sense for cap, and like you're already spending a ton of money, might as well like you can't go turn around and ask for more. So again, the same thing like with Richie, whether he's a 3rd DP or maybe they could add another one. I'm not entirely sure what happens there, but they can also add up to 3 U22 initiative players because I believe Magulula doesn't count as one while he's on loan. And by the way, while you were talking, I looked it up. I was like, wow, is he actually killing it in Belgium? He's been an unused sub. I
didn't say he was killing it. I said he was playing in Belgium, although clearly I was wrong.
In a very literal sense, he's played 3 games in Belgium this season. But anyway, so yeah, Toronto is an exciting team to watch this winter, and again, I am happy for those. Those are good fans. When this team is good, and man, even when they've been bad, like the atmosphere has been pretty good. So Toronto being good again, I think will be fun if they are indeed able to get there. They've got a lot of good pieces. They just need to kind of put it all together, and if they get the right DP9, that goes a long way. And Walker Zimmerman, I believe that's going to be a good signing. If it is indeed, that's going to go a long way to determining their success in 2026. Next thing that I want to talk about, Vancouver Whitecaps. What I'm watching over the next couple weeks is new contracts or trades. So part of this magical season is almost to a person, almost every single player, and I'm not exaggerating here, almost every single key player outperformed their contract. And it was a brilliant season. And there is a lot of stuff here that is going to be repeatable, and they're going to be good again next year. They do have things that they need to figure out this winter. Sebastian Berhalter, he's out of contract in a year. He's on like $300,000. He's not coming back. He's not coming to preseason without a new contract or trade, right? Ali Ahmed, he's out of contract in a year. I would imagine something similar of like hey, like, you got to take care of us or you got to trade us. Tristan Blackman wins Defender of the Year. I don't know this for a fact, but if you were his agent, would you be asking for a new contract? If you were another team, would you be calling about him? Right? Even Ranko Veselinovic, I've heard his name thrown out there. He had a really good, like, he's been very, very good over the last few years. He's currently injured. Matias Laborda, teams have called about him. Andres Cubas had the team from Brazil in for him. They need to give, again, particularly Berhalter, Ali Ahmed, and Blackman, and maybe Brian White if he's asking, because that's a guy who always outperforms his contract. If those 4 players are asking for new deals, just get it done and figure everything out later. While they do want to bring in new players, they do want to evolve the roster, natural tweaks. These things are normal. Jaden Nelson trade, I thought they did well on that. And he wasn't going to be anything more than a rotation guy next year because Ryan Gauld is back. And Ali Ahmed's there, Thomas Mueller. They brought in Kenji Cabrera, I believe, the attacker. So they've got the options there, and it made sense to let him go and get the money there. That Jaden Nelson deal should pay for one of those new contracts at least. And then you have to keep figuring it out from, okay, all right, now what do we need to do next? So for me, the Vancouver Whitecaps need to get this stuff taken care of. It's more about keeping the core intact than
the
going
Jaden
out and adding
Nelson
new
deal
pieces.
might help you cover 2, sort of, in that you're losing his contract plus you get that GAM. It was a ton of GAM. I mean, I like the trade for both teams. Yep. I have said I like what he can bring to Austin. We'll talk about Austin in a little bit. But at the same time, he is not a locked-in starter. To get that much for not a locked-in starter seems like a pretty good deal for them. And as you said, they need to lock in some of these staple guys. And the belief now has to be, if we can get Kubas and Gauld and Mueller and Veselinovic and Takaoka, who we saw his deal got done, if we can get them locked, we can believe that we can develop the next Nelson and Sabi and all these guys around them. And so that's where your core is, and that has to be your first priority here. I didn't realize Ali Ahmed is just a free agent, correct?
Well,
in one more year. Got it. I was scrolled forward,
Right, like, so the winter of whatever, after the 26th season, him and Berhalter are out of contract. Spoilers aside, they're not going to get to free agency. They're either getting new deals here or trade.
That's wild. Pay my man. Pay my man.
Right. And when the salary figures came out in the fall, the update for the season, and I wrote like a best bargain of like the most valuable XI for like team. For sure. I could have done 7 White.
I would even throw like JC Nagando in there, guys like that. Like, I just think they've hit on so many of these. I think Nagando's very good, and I would like to see him play more. And your hope would be off this year, which was forced maybe, that Abadwal can step into a bigger role going forward, that you've sort of developed some of these guys. And I think Ralph Priso's performance should make you confident that that's a rotation player you can trust as well, whether it's at center back or center mid. And as you said, they brought in Kenji Cabrera. So there's some flexibility there for them to sort of double down on some of these guys and let some of the other pieces go. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what Vancouver looks like going into next year.
On Ralph Priso, I would pencil him. I'd write him in pen as the starting center back next to Black.
If Veselinovic
day one, like, and then assuming that he's not going to be ready for day one, but for that,
for sure, which is where Laborda now becomes gettable. And if my mind, if they trade Nelson, I mean, if they should get $1 million for Laborda minimum. If he's a starting level player and they got 1.5 for Nelson, obviously attacking versus defending a little bit different. Also, the teams we just mentioned, if I'm TFC, how am I not looking at Laborda as a partner to Walker Zimmerman? Are you kidding me? Like, and there's multiple teams that I would put in that list. If you can bring in 2.5 mil to 3 mil in allocation with those two guys, you could probably cover most of the rest of it. And as you said, Ralph Priso is your third rotation center back. Sam Adekugbe, if he's healthy, he's also someone who's eligible in that role. And you brought in the poop guy. So you've got that locked in. So like, yeah, that to me is the obvious next deal for them. Or you buy him out. Yeah, I mean, it's tough that guy to play your second ever appearance at Inter Miami in MLS Cup. That was barbecue chicken. Tyler Kolek style.
Yeah, that poor guy, man. Number 5, another team that doesn't have a ton of flexibility at the moment is FC Cincinnati. So what I'm looking for Cincinnati is departures to make room for additions. Their 3 DP spots are set: Denke, Evander, Miles Robinson. Their 3 U22 slots are set. And they have done very well on the U22. Gilberto Flores, Echenique, and Samuel Guidi. Those are 3 starting level players. I know that Gilberto Flores really tailed off as the season went on. I still think he's a starting caliber player, particularly if you're playing next to Matt Miazga and Miles Robinson. Like, that helps. So those 6 high leverage slots, there is no flexibility. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing, because that, I think, to a person, that you're 6 for 6 there. You can quibble with the Miles Robinson DP, but at the end of the day, that's a very, very, it's one of the best center backs in the league. So you've got six key players with those 6 slots. Very well done. They've spent a lot of money on like TAM players to buy down. You have Obi Nwobodo, who was a DP. That's something in the region of max TAM. Matt Miazga, pretty close to max TAM. He's 1 year left on his contract. Teenage Hadabe is a TAM player. I believe Buka is as well. So the way that you need to keep funding this is trades, transfers, whatever. Monterrey have put a bid in for Luca Orzano. I don't expect that to be the last. Luca Orzano was not good enough in 2025. I say that because it's I think pretty objectively true, but also last season he was on loan with a purchase option, and part of the purchase option is you have a prearranged, pre-agreed contract. He outperformed that contract, to be fair to him, and kicked and threw his toys out of the play, but to try to get a new deal, to try to get a transfer first to Cruz Azul. And then it was like, okay, if you're not going to give me the move where I would get a big pay raise, you need to give me a new contract here. He doesn't show up for preseason. He ends up getting the deal at the end of preseason. The whole entire season, he had been playing catch up with injuries and being out of fitness because he missed those valuable weeks at the beginning of the season to get the new contract. Then he got the new contract and wasn't good enough. And I think that's a fair criticism. If Monterrey or another one of these big Liga MX clubs comes in with a better bid, I just think you take it at this point. I think that makes the most sense.
I think if the belief is that you can get a high level of performance from Echenique and the money you're getting for Orzano outweighs what you think he's worth, then it feels like the one opening to then say, okay, for starters, if I'm them, I'm just going and finding an MLS winger. I mean, I don't need to bring up Ryan Raposo's name for the 400th time for the 5th year in a row, but like, just go get an MLS wingery guy who you think you can convert into fullback for cheap, and like, or wingback, and get that performance, and then spread that money across the rest of the roster, as you said, and keep things level. Like, in the way you worded of like FC Cincinnati needs departures to fuel stuff, like, I think the belief for FC Cincinnati, right, should be if the team is as close to similar as last year as possible, that they should be even better, right? Like last year should have been a drop, and this should be like Goss Theorem team of like Evander with an off-season full year. If what's it called? If Nwobodo is healthy, if you can get a healthy year from Matt Miazga or Miles, or like, I'm not even saying both at this point. I'm just saying, can one of them be fully healthy and the other one potentially is in and out, and then Denke settling in? Cincinnati should believe that if they can keep most of this together, they're going to be even better next year than they were last year. And then if that's the work you need to do around the edges to keep the roster solid, then I think they're fine going forward.
Agreed. And 2 others to look at, or at least 1 other to look at, plus a position group. Dado Valenzuela is a guy who's getting called about across the league. I think that makes sense for everybody in Cincinnati. Agrees with that as well. Like, hey, if he's not going to play that much, and he's a vet, like if somebody meets whatever the asking price is going to be, which when you have 7 teams calling, you hope that one will. That's a move that could happen. Valenzuela obviously wants to play more, and if you're behind Evander, it's tough. And Pat Noonan hasn't showed any interest in playing Evander and Dado underneath Denke. Maybe that's something that changes in the offseason and they have a different decision. But at currently constituted, a Dado trade makes sense. And then the other one for me is look at center back. So now you have Miles Robinson DP. These are the funds that are going to this position group. Miles DP, Miazga essentially max TAM, Flores U22.
What are we doing? How does Teenage Hadabe get picked up again? What are we doing?
So I think so he was open to a trade, or like they were open to trading him last winter. Nothing happened. So I hope that they keep Matt Miazga, but 12 months left in the deal. He's probably looking at the Miles Robinson contract and wanting that. I would understand if there's a move there. one of Hadebe or Miazga, I think, has to go because you do not need all of those resources at center back for a team that they're really good defensively. And Nick Hagglund, if he's your third starter, if it's, let's just say Robinson and Miazga, try to pencil them in for 80% of the games. Maybe that's silly because of their injury histories. And then your third center back is a combo of Flores and Hagglund. You don't need to spend money on another guy.
Yeah,
and
you cannot afford it under
injuries.
the cap. That's the issue. If you want to, listen, if there's no cap, great. Spend all the money on center backs. Love it. Like, let's justice for center backs. But you literally cannot afford it, and it makes no sense. And then on top of that, I would argue Teenage Hadebe's on a deal he's not worth. And I would argue he hasn't proven that he's worth more. That's the part that is like mind-boggling all this. Can I give you my Dado Valenzuela's, by the way? Montreal's an obvious one. He is not a like-for-like for Dante Seeley, but he fits that mold.
Of course.
The one I'd love to see is Nashville. Kind of in the Johnny Perez move as a different option than Alex Muriel or Schaffelberg. I think Quasim's going to be very good this year. But that's where I'd love to see Dado as like your Hani Mukhtar or Surridge rotation guy, and then also can fill those minutes underneath. He's at his best, I think, inside his ability to beat guys and play quickly. He has the size, I think, to hang, and he doesn't have to go out wide and play as a winger. So those are the two that pop for me. And Montreal's the obvious one. I don't know if it's playing out on the right wing. They changed formation, whatever, but, that's just like a Montreal move.
Yeah, you got to imagine that they're one of the teams in for him, given the playbook. A team that I would really like for him.
Oh, yeah.
St. Louis.
Yeah.
I would really like it, St. Louis.
It feels like a Corey Ray move, for sure.
Again, right. I know that there's, again, I think we could name like 12 teams, and we both go, I like that. So there's the markets there for him. I would expect a move, given that neither side is like trying not to make it happen, and not like Cincinnati's actively shopping him, to be very, very clear. But it's one of those just, hey, the reality of the situation for the salary cap, for the player himself. If we can't give him a better pathway to playing 1,500 minutes in MLS or whatever the number is that he's looking for, it's good on them to not try to hold him back. Next one for me, number 6 here, the Christian Espinoza sweepstakes. I'm very curious to see where this ends up and what happens, because there's a cap on what teams can offer him. It was the 90% of whatever San Jose offered him. I believe that ends up as like low 2 millions. And I don't know if there was no cap, what a free market would do and what the offers would be on the table in MLS. I will say, from what I've heard, his camp isn't exactly thrilled by this this threshold and this ceiling that they have on what offers they can get in MLS. He wants to stay, prefers to stay in MLS, but with that, they are more seriously considering Mexico, Brazil, where there's no cap. And again, I don't know if there is offers that are greater than 2 million from clubs in Mexico, Brazil. I don't have any latest info on that. But what I do know is his camp aren't thrilled, and I think that's part of the delay here, in that maybe they were hoping for things to be different in terms of, like, if we go back into different big like free agent sweepstakes in the past, there have been some players that hoped that MLS would make an exception on how much, or do one.
Yeah, for sure.
The CBA
Sorry,
is
Christian Espinoza.
per the league's discretion on almost all.
You're not getting
rules.
the Robbie Keane.
So there's at least enough wiggle room to hope. So it doesn't appear that that's going to happen. And so when I was first reporting that Espinoza was out of contract, I would have handicapped it at like 95% likelihood he stays in MLS. Whatever the number is now is lower. I still think it's more likely than not, but that's where things stand right now with Christian Espinoza.
I'm going to do two things. First, I'm just going to start listing guys on 2.2 million that he'll be paid less than if he stays. Mikel Ura, Paxton Aronson, Mirto Uzuni, Chicho Arango, Marcel Hardo, Thiago Martins, Wessam Abu Ali. Those are the guys right in front of Christian Espinoza's current guaranteed comp based off last year. If he has to drop down, he's probably coming below Ivan Jaime, Matt Turner, Warren Cruz. Yeah, I'd be pissed too if I was Christian Espinoza. Second thing to me means take off the SKCs, RSLs of the world. Like, he is staying because he thinks he's going to win and he thinks it's a cool situation. And that to me takes us to like LAFC, and like a few other clubs where it's worth his life to stay and be a part of it. He's not picking a team because he's picking a team if it comes down to that, because clearly he would just go to Mexico for the money if that's the case. And that makes me think it will be LAFC, where it's like he stays in California, he lives in a place he wants to live, he has a chance to win if they want to do it. I mean, who else is on that list? San Diego, maybe, if they want to do it and they want to use a DP spot. Yeah,
I would doubt that they're in for him.
That would be if Chucky leaves.
Like, firmly doubt that.
Right. And I can't really think of anyone else that would make sense right now that he would go to. Seattle doesn't have the openings. I mean, if he wants to move cross country, maybe there's something there. I don't know. Maybe Atlanta, if they move off a DP spot, they want him and he wants to play there. But yeah, that wording to me feels like he's going to stay for a dream situation. If it's not that, he's just going to leave MLS.
Yeah, we'll see exactly how it plays out.
Can I jump to your next one, which is FC Dallas number 10? Christian Espinoza is not going to Dallas if Dallas offers him the deal, because like I don't think that's attractive enough for him to stay inside of MLS for less money.
But I can dream about the service from Espinoza to Peter Musa and Logan Farrington. So don't take that away from me.
You mean the service
really quick.
Ricky Lewis and whatever his name was, Phillips? Did I just Simmons? Nicholas Simmons? Yeah.
The super draft selections. Really quickly on free agency. Espinoza is the biggest name, but I would say something similar for Justin Haak. And to what you were saying, Goss, of this is another one where you're capped. And if he stays in MLS, which I'm trying to be careful, but like, I don't know this for a fact. I'm assuming he's going to say there is real interest abroad in the championship in Germany, but I would just makes more sense for him to be here. But he's earned the right to make that choice. And I don't know what the money is on the table. I don't know what the teams are abroad, but I would expect him to stay here. And for that reason, like you said, Goss, there's a cap on what he can be offered. So while I know that there is like 12 teams making offers and stuff, well, if it's like LAFC, Galaxy, if it's Chicago, if it's and I don't know any of these to be particular. I'm just throwing out. You're gonna pick those over if San Jose is making the offer,
right.
if Montreal is making the offer, and because the money is the same. I think he's gonna go to a team that he feels fits his skill set and is going.
Galaxy would have been interesting pre-Glesnes with this one.
Yes. I think LAFC would be
to me that LAFC is looking for a center
LAFC need a center back.
It feels like
why would they not be? They have Kosi Defare and Ryan Porteous.
Okay,
and Eddie Segura is in terms of fit
those
center
are
backs.
Three center backs. How much depth do you get? And also, when's Aaron Long coming back?
At least a fourth. But he tore his Achilles.
So we think he's out
late July.
through the summer.
I don't. I'm not a doctor.
You're just staying at a holiday. We would like.
I'd be careful to assume you're getting 100% of Aaron Long.
It just,
on like
to me, of all the teams, it feels like they have a lot in that spot. And if I'm Justin Haak, and I'm saying, what am I signing for? It's style. It's also space to play. I haven't been a full-time starter in Major League Soccer my entire career, so where am I going to find that? And that feels like a weird one to me.
That's fair. I would disagree on that, but that's fair. A couple more here. Number 7, FC Dallas is DP number 10. The quickest route, and actually let's lump these two together. 7 and 8 is then San Jose Earthquakes DP number 10. The quickest route to going from average to really good in this league is sign a killer DP number 10. Nico Ladero, Carlos Hill, you go on down the list of the last decade of guys who, and those two guys were two of the best signings in the last decade. Carlos Hill was like a $2 million fee. I don't remember what Nico Ladero's fee was. Like, you don't need to spend $20 million to guarantee a really good player. Again, that doesn't mean that every mid-level DP10 that you sign, you can still get it wrong. Dallas and San Jose could low-key be really good next season if they make a really good DP10 signing. The variance is wide because it could be who is the San Jose guy?
Matias Perez Garcia.
Didn't work. Their most recent.
I cannot remember.
10.
They're all the same person. Not Amal Pellegrino.
Right. Well,
Yes, thanks.
Well, Hernan Lopez. If they sign Hernan Lopez again,
They have signed
they're not
so
gonna be
many.
But
Like,
if they
what's
sign
his name? What's your running back's name? Scattaboo body type number 10s in their time, and none of them have pretty much panned out. It is a crazy setup. I'm looking at all-time DPs.
So that's so good. If they sign Hernan Lopez 2.0, they're not going to be that good. If they sign Carlos Hill 2.0, or even Carlos Hill 1.0, I don't know what it would cost to get him out of New England. If you do that again, I think they're going to be very good. And that's why these two searches are so important to me. Last year, I had Dallas. I thought they were going to be really good, or not really good, but I thought they were going to be good because of Lucho. Like, if he plays towards his MVP level, they're going to be one of the best 6 teams in the West. If he plays like he did last year, they're not a playoff team. So that's why these are so crucial for both of these teams. Bruce Arena in year 2 in New England and year 2 in the Galaxy won the Supporters Shield. So if you follow that blueprint, you add another good center back, I think the foundation is fine. If you get a sick DP number 10, this team is going to be a serious
the number
team.
you're talking about, let me try and find this. As a line, is this player better than David DaCosta? Okay, so you're talking about someone who's more impactful out the gate.
I'm talking hypothetical.
No, sorry. My point is I'm going to try and
just
find
to
a
be
fake
clear.
model and then ask you which team you like better if they both sign that player. So I'm trying to figure out like what this 10 looks like. Martino Hayda?
Yeah, if you sign Martino
play.
Hayda, and I'm glad you're doing this because and I make fun of myself for this enough if you listen to the show where I'll point to Carlos Hill and Nico Ladero and Denny Mwanga, like, yeah, just do that. Yeah, those are like the top 0.1%. So even like Martino Hayda is a very, very good player.
Okay, so if they both signed
that signing,
a Martino Hayda level 10, San Jose and Dallas, who do you like more next year?
Ooh. Man, that's a good question. I think I lean Dallas just because Urguide is the best center back between those two teams. And I think that like Peter Moose is the best forward between those two teams. I think that the ceiling for Dallas would be higher, but the floor for San Jose would be higher. If that makes sense.
I'm fully Dallas in this. I think both. I think Dallas is a higher floor.
Yeah.
And I mean their floor this year with no Lucho for the second half of the year. So if this 10 came in and bombed, I think they'd still be better. And I think their ceiling would be even higher because there's a chance that Moose is still the best player on this team. And if San Jose signs that player is going to be the best player on San Jose. Right. So that's where that ceiling comes from.
For sure.
Even like,
needs
if
to
Dallas
be too.
signs Robin Ludd, which I understand Robin Ludd's not going anywhere, and I'm the only one doing this. But if they do, I like that team.
You hope so.
Okay.
I don't think that's enough.
All right.
I don't think that's enough. And particularly for at his age level too. I'm a big fan of Robin Lutz, but I would be disappointed if that was the new 10 that they signed. But I do think that those two, and again, if you're just like eyeballing standings, Dallas that finished 7th, but 3 points ahead of San Jose who finished 10th on 41. You might not be talking about these teams as, all right, who could be in the upper echelon of the West. I do firmly, but Dallas, even more and more thinking about it, Dallas could firmly be in the top 5 with a really, really good DP10. And San Jose, again, the Bruce full year 2 thing is a real thing. And if they're able to, and he's been the best at my best players win games. Brian Schmetzer is somebody that's in this mold as well, where this is not taking away from their tactical knowledge or man management or anything else. What they do best is we have a special player or we get our special players and I put them in the best possibility for them to succeed. So that's another reason too why with San Jose you could just see it because you have so many examples going on down the years. So those are, there's plenty of other, I think, DP spots that we could point to. But I think the 3 of them that we've had on the list here, between Toronto's 9 and the 2 10s for these 2 teams, outside of Miami's 3rd DP. But the variance, if Miami swings and misses on their 3rd DP, they're still going to be really, really good, which is why I didn't find it relevant to kind of put them on this because it's a luxury at this point, though. I'm very excited to see in what direction they go with the ambition and the team and the money and everything else. So I just think that it's a lower variance because if you don't get it right, who cares? Because you're still going to be really good. So 2 more here. Number 9, DC United's rebuild continues. DC signed Ty Baribo, 5-year deal, and that's a DP9. We talked about that already. They've acquired Sean Nealis in a trade from the New York Red Bulls. Per sources, it's being finalized in like the $350,000 range. We've talked a lot about Sean Nealis and our disagreements. I really like that deal.
We didn't disagree about this.
They kept the number one pick.
No, we disagreed in abstract.
Are you sure?
Now we have specifics. It's a different conversation.
Yes. Okay. Oh, now we got. Okay. Sorry, I didn't want to take your disagreement away. And they kept the number one pick and drafted Canadian center back Nikola Markovic. These three moves, I think, are all good, solid, to varying degrees, right? Because the Baribo has like good, solid for a DP. Like he's obviously not the same level as Sean Nealis. I say that all to say, I've been very critical of the process for their new front office and the quotes that came out of ownership that were just asinine. I stand by that. I want to say I am impressed. And maybe it's that the expectations were, you look at what DC has done in the past, right? And I didn't know what to expect. If you told me their first three significant moves were going to be acquire somebody within the league in a cash for, trade for a good center back on a decent number, right? Both his contract and the acquisition cost, and keep the number one pick and draft a good college player, I wouldn't have said that they would. They're going to sign somebody for $7 million from Romania and then bring in 3 TAM level players that they're going to be desperately trying to get rid of in 9 months. And that's not specific to like this person or this, like that's not what I meant. We've seen so many things go awry in this way with this kind of, with the head coach and the sporting director that aren't within the league, with a front office that's like, it's Dave Casper right now. That's not, like, he was sent away by the team and just to run out his contract, and now all of a sudden he's... So all of those things would lead you to believe, oh, they're going to go abroad, they're going to do that, like, they're not going to, utilize the, I guess, smaller mechanisms within MLS, where the coach is going to be like, give me a new right back from somewhere else, right? I am impressed on these first 3 signings in that they're not taking away any of the talent pools that I thought that they might.
I fully agree with you. I would add, too, that they seem cohesive. They're 2 players coming out of similar systems who I think are high performers in those systems, and so you're going to value them over someone else. I mean, value is probably not the right word with Sean Nealis. This is a good deal. Like, that amount of money, we've said over and over, $500K is the floor for a starter in Major League Soccer right now, and they gave up less than this for Sean Nealis. Now, this is why I do like it. I said, I don't love Sean Nealis in every system. If they are going to play a pressing system with Ty Baribo up top, and they're going to have Caden Clark underneath, and that's where he's been at his best, and you're looking at 3 center backs, whatever it is, with Sean Nealis anchoring it like he did for Red Bulls, and Aaron Herrera's flying up the right wing, now I like some of this because they are all fitting into what you're trying to build. I think it might resuscitate Boris Eno. I like when he plays on the front foot. Maybe it saves Peglo as well. I don't think he's good enough to break down defenses, but like when transition moments, that's where you see his danger, and he can shoot quickly from distance and all that type of stuff. So yeah, I like this. I like this landing spot for Sean Nealis. I like these moves so far for DC. Let's see how it continues.
Agreed. And they need a new goalkeeper. I think that they still need another new center back, despite Sean Nealis coming in, because it was just a mess, right? And Lucas Bartlett wants out. So if he goes, then they definitely need another center back. I think that they need another central midfielder. I think that they need another DP attacker, more of a chance creator. They have 2 DP spots open if they want to use it, or it's 1, and they could use 2 U22s, I believe. There's a lot left to do. I think that they're off to a good start, and there will be more to come over the next few weeks for DC United. So the DC rebuild is something to watch over the next few weeks, and maybe I set my expectations too low, but I'm impressed by what the start has been.
No,
for DC.
This is a good start. I want to see it continue. I say all of this in light of they said they'd be a pressing team, and then they hired Wayne Rooney. They said they'd be a pressing team, and Troy Lesesne was not able to put it together and never really got there. They hired Hernan Losada. Like, they've tried this 5 times, and it hasn't worked. This is the roadmap to getting there. I don't think Ty Baribo will be a great DP, but if he can be productive for them on the right contract, I don't really care. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what else they do. I'd be fine if they didn't go big on anything else, and they were like, let's be freaking competitive. And then maybe in the summer, the right move lands of like can we build to 27? Because the sprint season is what everyone cares about, dude. Win the title in the sprint season, man. You got to gear your team to the sprint season.
It's not as big as the NBA Cup, but that's okay.
And we thank our Dubai brethren
last one here.
for gifting us the Emirates NBA Cup.
How about the flight? The Knicks win the NBA Cup, and it's sponsored by Air Emirates, I believe. So they had like a flight crew bring out the trophy to like put on the broadcast like before the game, and then the flight crew just, so there was a 4 or 5 person desk of like analysts. The flight crew just stood in the space between like Taylor Rooks and Dirk Nowitzki, just like a meerkat. Just like, it was like, are the flight attendants just gonna stay for the rest of the
every
show?
FIFA event, giving out the gold medals. It's always so weird.
They're just, like blankly staring into the camera.
Also, Dirk Nowitzki,
What's going on here?
Love Dirk.
Dude, awesome. That's good, bro. Shout out to my guy, JD Dyer, part of the Amazon on Prime NBA experience, sideline reporter. I know a lot of people heard his British accent and kind of perked up. We're curious by that. He's very, very good. So shout out CBS
I
Glasses,
genuinely have
JD
no
Dyer.
idea what was just said in the last 2 sentences, and it's fine.
That's good. Next one. Last one. A couple places that I'm expecting to move DPs out to be able to sign them. Luis Muriel in Orlando, Thomas Chancaly in New England. Muriel has been flirting with potential moves to Colombia. This even started last summer. Now there's some reporting on that. So he's got a year left on his deal. There's some reporting that somebody will take him on loan. That's just a way of saying a free transfer where Orlando covers some of the salary. So the way that this would work in the salary cap minutia is if Muriel, let's say, goes to America de Cali, and America de Cali know Orlando want him to leave, so hey, we're not going to pay the whole contract. We'll pay 50% or whatever the number is. Orlando can just buy out the other, whatever the remaining portion is, using one of their 2 buyouts on that. The same way that Joseph Martinez was traded from Atlanta to Miami, then he wasn't a DP in Miami, and Atlanta had to use a buyout on him. It's why Matthias Klick still counted as a DC United DP. So that's kind of the minutia there. So even if Orlando doesn't get 100% salary coverage, they can buy out what's remaining and add another DP forward. I'm expecting this to happen. I don't know for sure. I'm expecting that to happen at some point. And then New England, Thomas Chancaly hasn't, since he got towards ACL, I think this is a good player. I think the teams around the league could be taking a flyer on him, or if he goes back to South America. But I'm assuming that New England are going to move him out to bring in a new DP.
You could sell me on Chancaly. I was trying to look for a team. There's not a ton that make a lot of sense because I assume you have to have the DP spot open. Or you think that the money will come off that much that you can just get a shot at him?
So what his salary, and this is why it's also difficult. I love this league. His salary. So he made $1 million last year, and you don't acquire his acquisition cost. Like he's a DP because of his transfer fee. So if you bring him in for $1 million, I don't know if this is what the right for. Let's call it $1 million gam. Then you just pay him as a TAM player. Yeah. I think. Up to the league's discretion, like every other rule, but. That is my understanding. So if you're another MLS team, if you had to make him a DP, it completely changes the conversation. But if you can have him as a TAM player and you have the space for it and a need for an attacker,
I agree.
Why not?
I mean, I'm looking around right now. I'm looking at Minnesota. I'm looking at Red Bulls. I
like Minnesota. Ooh, Red Bulls.
I'm looking
Red Bulls,
at.
that's a really good
RSL
shot.
just because if you can get a cheap deal on someone. The other obvious one, if the money worked, where he ends up being cheaper in the end. Does Vancouver take a shot? If Vancouver ends up flipping another guy and they're like, we want to fill these spots, and they're a team that's rehabbed players, but obviously you're playing on turf once again, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, Muriel, no MLS team's going to touch. If they can get out of his deal, great. Chancaly would be interesting for other MLS teams. Speaking of getting out of deals, by the way, this was a quick segment we were going to do. Love this. Usman Bukari. This is a miracle. This is a miracle. I got to know who these Polish teams are and what, because I got stuff I could sell. I just threw some stuff out. I brought some of my good stuff to Goodwill to pass on. And, I get a bunch of free stuff that I think is pretty interesting, but I can't fit anymore. If Polish teams are offering these types of deals for refurbished, recycled throwaways, Usman Bukari was originally bought for $7 million by Austin. He ended up putting up, 9 goals, 2 assists across 40-plus appearances. Less than that?
No, less than that.
Terrible performance. They've now sold him for $6.5 million with a 20% sell-on. That's basically breaking even on a player who has tanked his value in his time with you, and they get out of a deal that they don't want to be on for a player they don't need.
Unbelievable.
I'm not going to jump out and compliment them because they're the ones who signed him, but this is as good a situation as you could ask for on the back end.
This team has gotten north of $16 million in transfers for Sebastian Driussi, who couldn't have more desperately wanted to leave, and there wasn't really a bidding war for him, and Usman Bukari.
Yeah.
That is magic.
This is huge for this team. It makes them make more sense. They're replacing his production with Jaden Nelson, who's already better for less money. And then they've just went out and traded for Joseph Rosales, $1.5 million to Minnesota. Okay.
I believe it's a cash fair. Might be GAM. I should have been more vague on that when I was reporting it. But either way, Rosales to Austin, who I think is he their fifth left back. It's a good player. It's a good deal. It's now that they have a lot of players at that position. Rosales makes sense. I figured he was going to leave Minnesota this winter. There was a bid from T-Grace in the summer. Anthony Marcanic coming on like he has made Rosales expendable. He leaves with... I hope that Minnesota fans don't just remember him for his last action, which was the really, really dumb red card.
In fairness, he's had a bunch of dumb stuff. He had the racism suspension. He grabs a red card right at the end of the playoffs. Strictly on the field, he's been a good player. It was a good signing. This is what I was like. He came in right after Kervin Arriaga, who's one of the low-key better signings in MLS history. He was really good, and then they sold him to Europe for money. Rosales is better than all the guys that Austin has at that position, which means if you're looking for a left back right now, you should be making calls because Austin's a team that should be selling. I also wonder if this is we're going to play John Gallagher at winger most of this season.
Right back.
And so that's one player moved out of this. And then, we have Bureau and Kolmanich when we shouldn't, and we're going to try and get off one of them, and that's where that position pool ends for them because now you take away Bukari, you bring Jaden Nelson in, but your starters otherwise on the wing are Hunter O'Brien and Robert Taylor until Brandon Vasquez is healthy, and then it's a question of how they're set up. But this has been good work for Austin. I think this is some of the most exciting stuff Austin has done since they've been in the league, straight up. Just intelligent stuff that makes sense and some production you're already guaranteed. It feels like it deepens their team. This has just been one of the thinnest rosters every single year since they've been in MLS. They've never been able to add to it. So all of this feels really good. And getting out of Bukari is massive because you might be tanked with Ozuni and you just couldn't afford to be tanked. And you maybe if Vasquez can't get healthy, you're tanked in all of these. But
I think they'll be fine there. It's unfortunate with the injury. But Goss, to your point, starting 2026 with Vasquez injured, if Bukari was on the roster and Ozuni was on the roster, bleak. Yeah. It's bleak. It would be bleak. So this is, we neither of us saw this coming. We figured it would have to be some sort of buyout situation if that was going to happen. The team that bought him, Widzew Lodz, they are in 15th place of the 18-team Polish top flight division. They have a new, extremely rich owner, which is Polish fans they're having fun with. Even if Austin fans are saying he's not that good, who cares? We have the money. They're enjoying, joking around about whatever. We'll buy it if he doesn't work. We'll buy somebody else. It's gonna be okay. This is a new Polish league record fee. You're a sporting director. You're a sporting director that comes into what appears to be a bottomless pit of money. And your first thing is to go sign Bukari.
Look at the MLS. First of all,
it's a fireable offense. That's a
just
fireable
go pay.
Offense. Me and you could have recommended 100 other players
Christian
in MLS
Espinoza that money.
Go look at the same team. Yeah. Bid for Owen Wolf, Danny Pereira.
I think there might be a little bit of acceptance of where they stand in the world and who's actually willing to come there. This is insane. I just wanted to look at their record arrivals in the past while we were talking about this, but obviously Transfer Market is the slowest website on the planet besides MLSsoccer.com. They spent $2 million last year on a center forward from Genk, and otherwise they had only spent over $1 million twice, 1.3 All of it's within the last year. As you said, they just got a rich owner and has bought their entire team.
Yeah.
This is nuts, dude. This is crazy. Congrats to Osman Bukari.
Dude.
Big year in the Polish league for him. I'm really excited to see him do his thing.
And he was really good for Red Star Belgrade. So maybe that's the idea of you come from a
He's
similar,
more of a
like level
carbs,
of league.
meat and potatoes guy. Like he needs that Eastern European cooking. Just make sure that when the dough is stuffed with meat, there's extra oil around it to keep it a little bit fresh. You know what I mean? That's gonna keep him flowing. All right, let's continue through here. This one, Rapids, 22-year-old Nigerian defensive midfielder, Hamzat Ojidaran from Lens, and your reporting is that it's around a $3 million fee.
Correct. In the 24-25 season, he made 17 appearances for Lens. He came from, I believe, the Hungarian league. He's a ball winner. That is his profile. He covers ground, wins the ball. He's not a deep lying playmaker. This is, I think, a profile. I know that this is a profile that the team has needed for a few years. They've tried a couple times, and this is the most significant investment that they are making into this position. Matt Wells is taking over. What they want in the play style is the people that he likes a lot in coaching is that he hasn't worked with, to be clear, because he has a lot of people he has worked with that he likes. When he's watching soccer, Pep Guardiola style, De Zerbi style. So that's high energy, high possession, win the ball back quickly, those kind of things. He's going to be a defensive midfielder who covers ground and wins the ball back is going to be very important because they have enough. Like Connor Rowan's a really good deep lying playmaker, or Josh Atencio has that potential as well. They needed this profile, and I'm excited to see how it works out. I think that the expectations for this player should be higher than Lamine Diack or insert a couple others that they've signed at this position. In recent years, I like this. I am very excited for the Matt Wells era to begin, and we'll see what else kind of comes from the Rapids.
Love the Lamine Diack swipe on the way out. Okay, DC United, we talked about already. Sean Nealis acquired. We like that pick. And then Nikola Markovic taken. A little bit of a surprise that it wasn't one of the forwards at the top of the Superdraft. And yet, I think, one with Superdraft, pick your player. Like Tyrese Spicer went first a couple years ago. Like the college game, just the way it is, it's so fractured. You just have to pick the guy you feel best about.
Right.
And also, I think there's a little bit of a higher floor on some of these defenders where if you can bring them in and you can get them MLS ready, like maybe they become a rotation player at worst. And so you have to feel pretty good about that. And I think, again, it just shows DC having a clear vision of what they want to do. I put in on the Red Bull side of things, they re-signed Tim Parker after letting Sean Nealis go.
I can't believe I didn't see this coming. When they traded Sean Nealis, I was like, what are you going to do about the Long Island Energy? And it was sitting right there in front of me. I should have known that you are not contractually allowed to trade Sean Nealis without having Tim Parker.
Listen, you're going from Massapequa to Hicksville on that move, which is wild because you're going from a trash town to a trash town. So just throwing that out there. Suck it, Massapequa. Suck it every day of the week. Let's do Orlando here. We've talked about most of these moves. I mentioned Tyrese Spicer. He re-signed. I like him. I like what he brought. I thought he brought pop at the end of games for Orlando, and that was getting comfortable, especially if they lose Alex Freeman. I don't say that in a like-for-like replacement, but does he become your left back or your left wing back, and then you sort of, like you talked about, I don't remember what team we were talking about, maybe Columbus, where you tilt your game a little bit in the other direction, or it's just as a winger. I like Tyrese Spicer in MLS. I think he has a higher ceiling. I think this is a good spot for him. And then Thiago Sousa is finally official as a U22.
Yep. Yeah, and then Luis Otavio will be official if that hasn't been announced by the time you're listening to it. So Orlando will have all three U22 slots filled. Sousa was around $4 million. Otavio was just under $4 million, I believe. Those are really talented kids that they're bringing in via the U22 initiative. I'm excited to see whether, they hit immediately. Unfair to expect, but these are two very, very talented players in a team that could use it. And Sousa can play center forward or on the wing, which will be very, very useful.
It's going to be wild if Luis Muriel leaves and they end up it was they have all these forwards and it's just like Duncan McGuire. Not saying it's a bad thing. Like Duncan McGuire is a good player. They paid him a bunch of money, but it was bizarre when they did that they have Ramiro Enrique, they have Luis Muriel, and now it will be back to what it probably should have been from the original. And we'll have gone through all of that over and over again. Some reporting out of South America, CL Merlo, who we trust, right? We trust CL. We believe in CL.
Yes,
That Lucas
of course.
Hoyos, a 36-year-old goalkeeper from
I don't
Newell's
understand.
Old Boys, could be heading to Atlanta. Didn't play much at all in the last season. He is a Newell's lifer, though. He came up
What
through
is
the
the point of
academy,
this?
made his debut there, played for Vélez for a while, came back. That's a Tata Martino guy. I don't know. There's probably going to be 5 of these that happen. Signing a
What is the point of
36-year-old
this?
goalkeeper for Atlanta. Well, you need someone to
What's the
back
point
up
of this?
Josh Cohen, who's backing up homegrown, who comes in, who they didn't expect.
Jaden Hibbert. Well, like, why are we using an
know.
international slot on this? Like, what is the point?
Yeah, fully agreed. Last 2 we had Columbus re-signs Rudy Camacho, which is interesting in light of like they don't have a coach, but it probably leans to they're going to try and keep their style a little bit. I mean, it's Rudy Camacho; it's not a big deal, but like that's what it says to me. And then NYCFC re-signing Andres Pereira, who had a really good year for them last year before the leg injury.
Ugh.
If you haven't seen it, go to NYCFC's website. The release photo of him is him like laying on a soccer ball. He looks like he's taking a picture for like A-Town or like 98 Degrees back in the day for like some promotional photo. Looks good in the picture, just like lounged on a soccer ball. But makes sense for them, and they got what they wanted from him, and you can assume the production returns when he comes back to health, and he's a good piece in central midfield for them.
Yeah, so I do like that. Listen, he's going to miss most of the year, I assume, given how gruesome that injury was. And good for NYCFC to be bringing him back and hopefully taking care of him for the future as well, for his rehab, for all of this stuff. NYCFC is an interesting team this winter. So they're losing Justin Haak. Pereira is, like I said, missing maybe most, if not all, of the season. Alonso Martinez missing most, if not all, of the season. He tore his ACL in November. Brutal. They don't have a natural placement for him on the roster. And there is no natural placement for somebody who scores 20 goals and is that good. So what do they do this winter? They need that. They need another boost in central midfield and central defense, again, with Haak leaving. In central midfield, hopefully Keaton Parks, hopefully the blood clot issues are behind him. But between him, Aiden O'Neill, and Johnny, sure, you're well set up there, but they've got next to no depth behind that, so they're going to need to work a little bit on the fringes, and then again need an answer at center forward, which is super unfortunate with Alonso Martinez.
Okay, let's close out here on Superdraft. We mentioned it, a little bit of a surprise. Nikola Markovic taken with the #1 pick, coming off a College Cup appearance with NC State. The big news was FC Dallas, and we've got our interview coming with Andre Zanota. As I said, put his money with it where his mouth is, how much they value the draft, and obviously they have the examples for it. And so they traded up twice to the 2nd and 3rd pick, $400K for the 2nd pick with Atlanta to get in there in allocation money. And then the 3rd pick was the one that came from Montreal, right? And that was a pick swap with 150K allocation alongside it.
I think it was. I think between the 2 picks, they spent 800.
And that one was for Nicholas Simmons,
something like, I believe,
freshman from Virginia, who many people thought would be the #1 pick, and that's who DC United would go with. So, it's not nothing to put into it. Like we say, take these flyers on draft picks, $800K in allocation money alongside it, and then you've got the roster spots and potentially international spots for Simmons. It's an investment from Dallas, saying that they've got belief that these guys can break through.
Exactly, and this is a team that has a very robust academy. They were the first team that we looked at as a great academy because of all of the U.S. national team players that they've brought through. They're still, while it hasn't been as prolific in the last few years, every year they've got like 12 homegrowns on the roster. So this is a team that has no shortage of young players to turn to. Whether they're all going to hit, obviously they won't all hit, but whatever it is, they will graduate players in the first team every single year. So this is a team that looked at the draft picks and was like, no, like this is still an investment to make, because particularly newer expansion teams that don't have the academy up and running, it makes sense when they kind of backfill the supplemental roster with a few draft picks. You look at the Philadelphia Union, who I view now as the best academy in the league. They don't look at it. They don't watch college soccer. They literally traded their picks for multiple years at a time. And it's interesting to me that Dallas was like, oh, well, we traded up to get Farrington, or I believe they traded up, whatever it was, the Farrington move. And then this year, that's a significant investment in this talent acquisition pool. And it's exciting. And it shows that they want to go through every bucket. You look at Orlando's another team like this. They've long made a lot of both money and gotten a lot of quality through the draft, even in the last 5 or 6 years. And
Kyle Laren was one of the first names.
I think that is very interesting.
Andre Zanota, when we asked him about it, he said all names of players that have never played for Dallas. Like, he was saying, we see the value in the draft, and I think he went through Tejan and Kyle Laren first.
Yes. Yeah. And that's, I find it interesting more interesting, I think, that it's Dallas with a team with such an established academy system that continues to bring players through. This wasn't like hey, I remember when LAFC started and they were like, hey, we're just going to start with the U12 academy. Because they were like, hey, we'll just start from the beginning, right? Like Nashville, it took them a couple years. Those are the teams where you're not surprised, okay, like we need to fill these spots somehow and we don't have an academy to pull from yet. Dallas does. Yeah.
Ricky Lewis is from Fort Myers area, played at Georgia Southern, and then Nicholas Simmons, Jamaican background, but I think grew up in the Virginia area and then played at UVA. He had a couple college teammates that were taken as well. Sporting KC, top 4 pick in here. Obviously, I've been talking Richie Amon because I got to watch him in person in USL2. I think he's a killer. He's only one-footed, which will sort of limit him, but he cuts guys apart when he gets after them. DC United took him with the 8th pick. And then a couple interesting picks going after this one, and some teams that are hoping they land on a good center back or another attacker that they can use going forward. But overall, big shout out to the guys who did the Superdraft stream where they had I was in there for 45 minutes loving that. I can't believe I can't remember the account. I think I was supposed to open my own YouTube so that I could find it.
That was a me thing,
and I messed that one up. This is a tough moment for us.
Well, no, that both of us are like, those guys are great.
The problem is I've been doing so much work recently that I've got really good music as all of my previous YouTube searches, so I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea.
Such an outfit's unbelievable. Are you wearing a Patagonia?
Well, it's just crazy because I already.
Did you have a CrossFit class this morning?
Nose tape, and when I did that around 3-4 in the morning, and I did my ice bucket challenge. It was crazy because when I was doing my first 500 lifts and I was eating raw meat, I was thinking about this and I should have put it in then, but I always lose focus right when I'm between my first 500 lifts and my first 50-mile run of the day. So that's right where I lost it. But I'll call up my crypto guys and see if we can get something organized for later so that we can shout them out again. Yeah.
Your AI assistant.
Exactly. See if we can get them shouted out again. Okay. That's all for us here. We thought this was going to be a quick one. It's never a quick one when we talk, but it was fun. And I think there's a lot to be excited about with some of these teams. It kind of has felt a little slow to start, which is fine. I think you reminding me of all these openings that exist. And there's teams, it feels like SKC in Toronto, where it's they're just re-entering the market. They just haven't been relevant in a while. And if they can be relevant, now you have the pop of 3 to 4 more teams that could sign interesting players, that could make interesting moves. And I think that makes it a lot more fun of a league to cover. I've had a blast this year. It's been really, really fun. I can't wait for next year. We won't be gone very long. But Tom, it's always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure, David Goss. Great to see you. Happy Chanukah to you and your family.
You got it in quick because technically it's done.
Celebrate the holidays.
Yeah, it was done last night.
Is it done?
I lit 8 candles, so I'd hope.
Oh, I thought we had one more day. I'm sorry for not wishing you a happy Chanukah.
Already giving me 15 of them. I tagged you in my menorah Hanukkah lighting, and immediately response, Ben Bear, what is this? What's happening? That's my Chanukah guy.
How dare you desecrate this?
But yeah, just huge shout out if anyone's still listening to everyone who supports us. The Discord, amazing. It really is meaningful that people enjoy what we're doing and people engage with it. Even if I'm not in there as often as I'd like to be as a commenter, I get sidetracked while I'm in my workouts and all that type of stuff. To anyone watching on YouTube over the course of the year, love the engagement there. I try and go in and respond to a lot of the comments afterwards. Really, really enjoy talking to people there. Anyone who's reviewed the show or rated the show on any of the podcasts, that's how people find us. It's really meaningful to us. It's really, really important. And on Blue Sky, I just love talking soccer with people, and I'm hoping that people enjoy what we do. So it's been really, really great. Thank you to everyone who's come on the show over the course of the year. All of our guests, our recurrings, the McKellys, Matt Doyle, Weeby, of course, Joe Lowry, everyone else who pops on the show and chats with us, and all the teams that have helped get people on the show for us as well. It's really, really important for us. So thank you to everyone. Happy New Year to everyone. Hope it's a good, restful holiday season, enjoyable, whatever it is for you. Go Knicks, and we'll talk to you again very soon.